Hello everyone, I'm Paul at the Garland County Library, and sorry for this glare, but I'm here tonight with Shailene Rickert, who's with the Turpentine Creek Wildlife Refuge up in Eureka Springs, and they're of course a nonprofit organization that rescues exotic big cats and a few other animals, saving them from the exotic pet trade and entertainment industry. So Shailene's here this evening to kind of give an overview and discuss everything they do up there, all the good work up at Turpentine Creek. So welcome, Shailene.
Hi. Hi everyone. My name is Shailene. I'm a wildlife interpreter out here at Turpentine Creek. So welcome and thank you for joining us today. So with myself, I'm part of the education department out here. And with the education department, we're doing a few different things, like doing a virtual tour, kind of like how we're doing today. Also, we are going and doing the real life in time tours on the tram, going around the refuge and giving those tours, and doing programs as well here at Turpentine. But also we have on-site groups coming out, and we do some BP kind of tours with them. But also we go off-site to where we do some education programs like schools and clubs and different libraries as well. But I've actually only been here at Turpentine Creek for about half a year. And so I've always loved these animals, but I've always had a specific love for these big cats. But just to get you guys kind of aware of what is going to happen for the tour, this virtual tour, I will have a video. It's pre-recorded, and I'll stop it along the way and talk about those certain cats along the way as we go through. But with the virtual tour, and the reason it's pre-recorded is because with these cats, we never can tell exactly where they're going to be in their habitats. And so with this pre-recorded video that we have, we can get those certain recordings and have where they're playing and active, and you can see that all that activity level that we're normally on the tours. There could be times they're at the very top of their habitats, in their night houses, or right by the fence line, to where we never really can tell exactly where they're going to be. And so that's just going to be giving you a heads up on exactly what that virtual tour is going to consist of. But let you know a little bit more about Turpentine Creek. So we are a nonprofit, but we were founded in 1992 by the Jackson family, who the Jackson family started off back in about 1979 with their first lion cub. They rescued this first lion cub named Bum. And then a few years later, 1982, they rescued their second lion cub. And then several years after that, around 1991, this lady had found out that they're rescuing these animals. So she drove her 3 cattle trailers up to their property and dropped them off and ran. She was on the run from the law, and she had 3 cattle trailers full of these big cats, about 42 of those cats. And so they had to find some space for these animals. They didn't have enough room. That's when they were able to come up here to Turpentine area, and they bought this property out here. With the property they bought out here, it is now known as Turpentine Creek today. And we have certainly grown since then, since 1992. We have a whole lot of new habitats to where every cat has access to grass. Also, we have a GFAS accreditation. We are a true sanctuary. So this GFAS accreditation, it means really Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries. And with this, we will never trade, breed, sell, or buy any of the animals that we rescue. We go out to these areas, whether it could be fake zoos, fake sanctuaries, it could be the exotic pet trade, and it also can be people's backyards and homes that have had these animals as pets. And you'll hear several stories along where it varies in those stories. But with this, we will never force these animals to do anything they don't want to do. They're welcome to be as wild as they can be while still being here in captivity. We are that forever home for these animals. So a forever home for the abandoned, abused, and neglected. So as we're going along on the virtual tour, there might be a few sad stories along this tour, but we don't mean to make you guys feel upset or sad about these stories. We want to be their voice because those stories do need to be told. And so with this, just keep with me because I love to tell fun tidbits about these cats and fun things they love to do. But here in a little bit, we'll go ahead and get that video started. Now, with a few questions you guys might already have for me, I'll go ahead and answer those right now for the fact of Tiger King Park. We did rescue 13 cats from Tiger King Park in Thackerville, Oklahoma in May. And with this, we brought those 13 back here. We transported 8 other cats to other facilities. But at the moment, we're not really allowed to talk about these animals. The Department of Justice website, now they have a lot more information they can tell you more info on about this rescue and those animals. And if you do follow us on any social media platform like Facebook or Instagram, you might be able to see a few of those animals there on that platform. You might also be able to meet them by knowing their names. But really, at the moment, that is really all we can tell you guys about those cats that we have rescued. But when we do ask questions, you guys are welcome to ask questions throughout, but I'll answer those questions at the very end of the tour. But if you guys are ready, I am going to go ahead and start sharing that screen, that video for us. And so I'll get that playing. All right, so you'll be able to watch this video and you'll be able to see that whole video, but this is Flip right here. So Flip, she's not a cat, as you can see. Flip is a bit different. So Flip, she's a white-nosed Coatimundi. So she's not quite that cat, but you'll see she is actually related to the raccoon family. They have a long white nose. That does make them get confused a little bit with an anteater, but this helps them dig around the ground. And you can see right here as I pause this video, she is eating an egg. She loves to eat eggs. They're one of her favorite foods. She'll crack that egg open and drink that yolk right there on the spot. But also with Flip, she can smell 2 feet underneath the ground with that nose. And so she loves to run around and find those eggs. But with her, she was rescued from Branson, Missouri. We did a big Branson rescue in 2009, beginning of 2010, where we rescued several animals from this fake zoo in Branson. You'll hear me talk a little bit about it and a few other animals, especially when I come to Chuff, Abigail, and Athena. But this is Flip. And one fun thing is when she gets a hold of a beetle, it sounds like she's munching on potato chips when she's starting to munch on that beetle. She loves to find bugs and worms underneath the ground. She is found in South and Central America, and so sometimes you can even find them in the very base of the United States. And this is Fergie, who Fergie, you might notice, looks just a little bit different. Now Fergie, she is a liger, so she is a hybrid mix of a male lion with a female tiger. Now, these are not a natural animal. Man has created this animal through forcing these animals to breed just for basic money purposes. Now, also with Fergie, she was rescued from Colorado, and you'll hear me say Colorado quite a bit, and I'll talk about that in a second. But Fergie over here, she's giving her big old yawn. I'll pause it right there. So with Fergie, normally female ligers, they can reproduce. While male ligers are sterile, so they won't be able to reproduce at all. But something interesting about these male ligers is they get something known as gigantism. This gigantism makes it to where it'll actually never stop growing. They will grow to be super large, and the largest known liger has actually weighed over 900 pounds. And with that 900 pounds, that is actually doubling Fergie over here in her size. Now, with this Colorado rescue that you heard me say, this was the largest big cat rescue in United States history. There was a total of 115 animals rescued in 2016 from this fake roadside zoo in Colorado. And out of those 115 animals, we brought 34 of them back here to Turpentine, and we gave them their home. But when you hear me say Colorado, that's going to be the rescue I'll talk about. And this is Mari. She's a very playful cat. Now, with Mari, she's running over. Mari and Chief were rescued from this man in Indiana. This man in Indiana, you guys might have heard the show he was on. He was on and associated with the Tiger King. He had 120 violations against him regarding these cats. We're able to go and rescue 4 lions and 4 tigers from his facility and bring him back here. Now, with Chief, who you saw, when we rescued him, he was so dehydrated and malnourished that you can count how many ribs he had. He was super skinny, so we put him on a special diet, and he gained that weight back. And so, also with him, he is a bit older than Mari is. He is 15 compared to Mari, who you're seeing right now, who's 5. Now, this is a large age difference between these two cats, especially in cat years. we try to actually put them on the grass together. And if you ever come out here to Turpentine Creek, you'll notice that several of our animals are switching back and forth from their habitats to their night houses. Now, there's many reasons that we do this. For them, it was because Mari was just being a little too aggressive when it came to playtime. We wanted them both to be comfortable, so we had to split them back up. And because of this, several of our animals have to switch back and forth, whether it's because of fighting, it's because we don't breed, or they're not from the same facility. And so if they're not from the same facility, we don't want to introduce these cats together because, again, that can cause fighting as well. But Mari right here, she is super playful, like I said earlier. She loves to run around her habitat, run along the fence line and chase the keepers, but she also really loves to stalk. And when she stalks, she gets as low as she can to the ground, and she thinks she's hiding really well. When she hides behind a skinny pole and one of her eyes is just behind that pole, she thinks she's invisible, and she doesn't think that we can see her. But again, she is pretty playful. She's only 5. And this is, you'll see a few of our African servals. So this is Giselle, but with an African serval, they're excellent hunters. They can jump up to 10 feet in the air and catch a bird in mid-flight. They also can catch 50% of their prey, while lions and tigers can only catch about 20% of their prey. And here we have Sammy. Now, with these servals, they are also really smelly cats. With Sammy over here and the rest of the guys that share his habitat, we have a habitat that has 6 cats in it, 5 servals and a savanna. With that savanna, it's a mix between a domesticated house cat and a serval. His name is Tigger, and if you guys come out here, you'll hopefully be able to see him, but people think that these cats can be pets. These savannas, these servals, they call them lap leopards because they think that they're going to be an okay house pet. But with the savannas, they are just aggressive as servals, and with those hunting instincts I was talking about, they are still pretty mean. They will hiss, they will growl, they will swat at the fence line. They are those wild cats. But Tigger puts up his own fight, and he will fight these servals, and he wins those fights with these other servals. But also, you notice that ear size like you see over here compared to the head, and how large those ears are compared to that head. These cats, if we wanted to hear like them, our ears would have to be the size of dinner plates. That's that ear to head ratio. Of course, I can imagine having dinner plate ears walking around out here, but they are excellent hunters when it comes to this. And then we have Chloe and Daniel. So Chloe and Daniel were both also rescued from Colorado. So Daniel, you might notice that if you see shots of him, he is missing an eye. He lost his eye to a really bad infection at the Colorado facility he was at. But also with Daniel, you'll notice that mane color. So Chloe, what we have her on the video, Chloe, she loves to talk to those Indiana cats that we saw before, Chief and Mari. Since they were rescued, Chief and Mari were rescued in 2020, just last September, she likes to see what's going on with them. But then you look at Daniel's mane. And Daniel's mane, even today, is a lot lighter than that. So you can kind of compare his mane to Savo's mane right here. That mane coloration is all connected to testosterone. With a darker mane, they're going to have higher levels of testosterone. The lighter mane, they're going to have lower levels of testosterone. And with this connection of these manes to testosterone, we will never fully neuter a male lion. Because if we were to do so, they would actually completely lose their mane. We give the male lions a vasectomy. This helps to keep that mane, and it's less invasive for them. And so with that, a male out in the wild with that dark mane will actually be king of a pride compared to the lighter mane lions, who would be a lot weaker to where they couldn't win the fights that are thrown at them. And so when you see that darker mane lion, you can imagine how much stronger they're going to be compared to the lighter mane lion. But this is Savo, who Savo loves to carol. So Savo, this caroling that he tries to start, it's not an actual normal sound you thought you would come from these animals. With this caroling that is done, it can be heard up to 5 miles away. It can get pretty loud. So if we think back to maybe if you've ever heard of a dinosaur sound, I got lots of guests that think it sounds like a dinosaur. If you have ever heard of a whale sound, some people also say it might sound like a whale. I like to describe it as a mixture between a cow and a big cat sound, or even just a weird moaning sound in a way. Now, with this caroling, being heard up to 5 miles away can get pretty loud, especially at night. That is when they're most active. These cats will sleep a lot through the day. They will sleep anywhere from 18 to 21 hours in a day. While being up at night, they're caroling. And we do have overnight lodging options here to where people come out and they can listen to that caroling all night long. Well, sometimes some of our guests say they wake up what sounds like a jungle right outside of their windows, because we have several overnight lodging options that their windows are right up next to Fergie, who was that liger we saw earlier. Now, she loves to carol between midnight and 4 o'clock. And with them getting so loud, you're going to wake up sometime during the night. But we have several different options, like the glamping tents, the African safari lodges, the tent and RV spots, our Bengal and Siberian suite, and even a tree house, to where you'll be able to hear them caroling more during the night. But Salo is normally the one that likes to try and start this caroling that is done. He likes to also gossip. So normally it's talked about food and territory when they carol, but he likes to gossip about Chloe and Savannah, who you see now, whether they're in heat or not, or if they have a special toy that he doesn't. But Savannah, he was rescued from Indiana. With her, this Indiana facility kept her on dirt and concrete her whole life. So she never got to feel grass. It took her a little while to adjust, and with her adjusting, she now loves to come out and play with her toys. Now, she's staring deeply into that camera. Her favorite toys, you can see a couple of them behind there, but with her favorite, you actually can see them here on the screen currently. It is a stick. She loves sticks. She'll pounce around and just prance in her habitat, chewing on a stick and just having it in her mouth. She goes absolutely nuts for them. So we actually put sticks inside of her habitat every day. That way she has more toys and more enrichment to play with. Enrichment is a variety of different things, depends on the cats, but we can give them boxes, perfume, kitchen spices, pumpkins, watermelons, stuff to keep them active and playing. Now on Easter with Savannah over here, we actually did cut out a cardboard egg and painted on it to make it look like an Easter egg. We love to celebrate all holidays and all birthdays. So we then put that cardboard egg on a stick and then put it right in the ground. With this, she actually ran after it. She grabbed the cardboard, threw it on the ground, and started chewing on the stick by itself. A couple of days later, we actually went in there to see if maybe we're going to collect the pieces of cardboard, at least we thought were pieces, while she was up in her night house. And we went up to the cardboard and it was fully intact. It didn't even look like she had destroyed them really at all. And so with her, she just rather play with those sticks than really any other toy in that habitat. We sometimes might put sticks inside of those toys so she'll play with them a little bit more. Those sticks are her favorite. And so this is Mama Shakira. I'm going to call her Mama from now on. That's more of her nickname that we've given her. But Mama over here, with her and Bosco, who we'll see in a second, they were rescued from Colorado. Now, with this Colorado facility, with Mama and Bosco, they were using them for one purpose and one purpose only. And with this purpose, it was actually to be forced to breed to have cubs. And those cubs would then be forced to be used in cub petting and pay-to-play programs. Now, normally a tiger out in the wild, when they give birth to their cubs, those cubs are going to be with mom for 2 years. And a facility just like this, like that Colorado facility, and like several other fake facilities out there, the second after these cubs are born, they are ripped from mama, bottle fed, and then passed around to everybody in the entire facility for the first 3 months of their life, 8 to 9 hours a day, like a full-time job. Thinking about it in a different kind of perspective. Taking an infant to a store, like a Walmart, a large store, and passing them around to everybody in the entire store for the first 3 months of their life, 8 to 9 hours a day. And then imagine the health that infant is going to be in. These cubs get really sick. They get something known as metabolic bone disease. This disease makes their bones weak and fragile. They're not able to walk around. They can barely stand up if they can stand up at all, and barely can move occasionally. We go to these facilities, that way we can rescue these animals and they don't have to go through that fate. We have rescued several animals that have had metabolic bone disease, and some have had very severe metabolic bone disease, like the triplets. With the triplets that we rescued, they had really severe metabolic bone disease. They couldn't stand up. It took us a while. We were able to give them what we call the cure, and with this cure, it is more of just a lot more calcium. It's also a few more meds in their diets to help their bones grow stronger. And with their bones growing stronger, today, after being rescued in 2016, today they are running around their habitat like a child's had a whole bunch of sugar. So they're now able to run and play. And so even though these cubs are used this way, they're only used for the first 3 months of their life. After that, they're then legally considered dangerous. These facilities, they will trade them and sell them, but most of the time they end up euthanizing these 3-month cubs to where they don't want to put the money forward at their facility to keep them there. Even though each cub that mama would produce would give that facility a $60,000 profit. With her, and you'll see Bosco now, she was 5 when we rescued her. At the age of 5, a tiger should only have 1 litter. They get pregnant at the age of 2 to 3 years old, and they'll be pregnant for 3 months, and the cubs will stay with mom for 2 years. At the age of 5, mama had already had 4 litters at the time. You can just imagine how much stress was put on her, especially when in May of 2016, she gave birth to the triplets. And then not even 4 months later, she gave birth to Tanya and Kisman, her next litter. And so we went to this Colorado facility and rescued what we call the parents of the refuge, Mama and Bosco, as well as all 4 of those litters. And with those 4 litters, we brought them back here. Now Tanya and Kisman, they're in our discovery area. So if you come to the Turpentine Creek and you're in the discovery area, if you walk in, the first habitat on the left-hand side, we have Tanya and Kisman. They were born the day we arrived at the Colorado facility. Never had to go through metabolic bone disease at all. They actually got to celebrate that first birthday here. Big special party. And when I say big special party, it was pink everywhere. Pink boxes, pink streamers, you name it, if they could have it, it was going to be pink inside that habitat. But also, bubble bath. Bubble bath, where they'd hop in these bubbles and hop on out, just like kids. They had bubble beards, bubble mustaches, even bubble hair. And so it was all over the place, and our guests were making them birthday presents as well. So we have Tanya and Kisman up in the discovery area, as well as currently Aurora. Aurora is in the habitat right next door to Tanya and Kisman. She is the oldest of the 4 litters. And so we have the oldest and youngest actually side by side in the discovery area. And you'll see Snowball later on this virtual tour, to where Snowball was born after Aurora. And then like those triplets I was talking about, those triplets, they're also here at the refuge. But currently the public isn't really able to see them when they come here, and we don't have them on the video. But there are different videos of them on our Facebook pages and Instagrams, and we have lives. That the lives even go to some of their habitats where you can see those cats that we might not see today. But that is Mama and Bosco and their litters. And Bosco loves his barrels. He loves to play with those barrels and throw them up against the fence. Now this is Glacier. So Glacier was rescued with Ungawa from Indiana, and we'll see Ungawa in a second. But we like to call these two an odd couple, because Glacier's a white tiger, while Ungawa is actually a lioness, a female lion. Now this man in Indiana was trying to create a Tigon hybrid, a male tiger with a female lion. We're able to neuter Glacier, that way they can go back to the same habitat together. They were able to go back to the habitat together, same facility, same habitat. Now if they're in different habitats at the same facility, they would never have been introduced together. We don't want these cats to fight each other and hurt each other. But this is Ungawa. Ungawa, she's a bit confused. So with Ungawa, she doesn't think she's a lioness. She thinks she's supposed to be a tigress, a female tiger, because she's lived with Glacier almost her whole life. So normally lions are social animals that hate cold and hate water, while tigers are the complete opposite. They're solitary animals that love cold and love water. And yes, certain cats do love water. But Ungawa, she's a bit different. She likes to be by herself. She's more solitary than anything. She'll tell Glacier exactly where he can and cannot be in his own habitat. And when he does something wrong or gets too close and she gets aggravated with him, she lets him know all about it. But also, she's a bit different as well with the snow. She loves snow. She's one of our only lions that likes to go out into the snow and chase the snowflakes. So in February, when we had that large snowstorm here, she was out chasing every snowflake she got the opportunity, but she was also sliding down the hill on her back and her belly and prancing around the snow playing with Glacier. All the other lions probably thinking she was just a little bit more on the crazy side, but she was enjoying playing. Here you have Luna. So we have Luna and Remington together in a habitat. These two were rescued from Florida. This Florida facility, there's Remington. He's doing the stinky face. So before I tell you that Florida facility information, I'm gonna tell you about the stinky face since Remington's doing it. So that stinky face that I paused on, that actually means that they smelled something that they like. They have a second olfactory gland on the roof of their mouth. And with this second olfactory gland, when they do this phase, they're able to smell whatever they're smelling better. And it's that smell's going underneath the roof of their mouth. That way they can experience that smell in a whole new way. Now, you might have, if you have cats at home, you might see your cat doing this as well. So house cats also do this, but you might notice a few other animals do this, like horses. Horses will also have this stinky face. But this Florida facility was using them in a pay-to-play program known as Swim with the Tigers, where people could go in and swim with these tigers. And when they would get tired, they try to hop on out of the water, but people would yank them back into the water by their tails. It took us 6 years to working with PETA just to get these cats rescued. And after that, we brought them back here, and they spent that 3 months before COVID playing around their habitat and watching the tours. Now, they were able to come here just January 2020. And it looked like just then Luna was not very happy that Remington pushed her away. But with those tours, the 3 months before COVID, and we had to shut down for a little while, Remington, who is right there playing with that pumpkin, Remington, he would go down on the tours and spray our guests. He would give them a special little treat. Now, a lot of the guests walked away smelling a little bit more like kettle corn because for some reason, this smells like kettle corn. My coworker says to this day she will never eat kettle corn again because she was sprayed the second day on the job by Remington in the face. And so she smelled that the rest of the day. And if you ever do come out to Turpentine and you're in the Discovery area on a tour and you see a cat lifting their tail up at you, I would move out of the way because these cats love to spray. Now, these tigers can spray up to 10 feet with really good aim. And so just be on the lookout for those tails if you guys ever decide to come out and visit us at Turpentine Creek. But they do love to play with those different toys and enrichment items like pumpkins, like you see Remington doing here. And then like you see Karma doing here with this box. Now, Karma is also a liger, so she was rescued from a man in Stratford, Missouri, who had her in a drive-through safari. And in front of her, you also see a blood sickle. And she's looking on it right now. These blood sickles, they're made out of water, blood, and then there's sometimes even butcher meat in there, to where It looks like they're celebrating Karma's birthday on this part of the video. On hot days, like what we've had in the past, and even what we're probably about to get the next month, these hotter days, we like popsicles. Well, they don't want to eat our popsicles, all that fruit stuff. They want to eat their bloodsickles. Of course, we don't want to eat their bloodsickles, but it just helps them cool off for a fun enrichment item. Now, this man in Stratford, Missouri, this drive-through safari he had with these big cats, the only thing that's stopping Karma over here from coming to the vehicles was a 6-foot fence. And with this 6-foot fence, you can imagine how easy it could be for her to get over by looking at her size. Some of these cats, when they stand up on their back paws and put their front paws up on the fence line, they can be 6 feet tall that way. And so he was given 2 options, either fix his fence or give the big cats. And, well, as you can see, since we got Karma, he was forced to give up those big cats. Well, as you're seeing right now, that is not how we normally feed these cats. Now, that is a special enrichment treat for her. That was some butcher, to where we hung it up there to give her a special little treat for her to attack. Now, with this, again, that's not normally how we feed them. We feed most of these animals with chicken. So actually, Tyson's donates 300,000 pounds of meat to us every year. Most of that donation is chicken, but that helps us out a lot. And so with that, that was just a special treat. And this is Keisha. Keisha was also rescued from that man in Stratford, Missouri. Now, Keisha loves leaf piles. She loves to jump in these leaf piles and hide in the leaf piles. It's one of her favorite activities to do. So we'll even rake those leaves up to make them just for her. But also, if she ever moves her ears and you see those white spots on the back of her ears, like you might see here, those white spots are her eye spots. They help her blend in with her, kind of blend in with her surroundings, but also confusing what might be predators behind them. Because with these eye spots, they look like eyes. So she'll move her ears, it makes it look like her moving her eyes around, and she won't get attacked as often. It's crazy if you think about other creatures that have this, like a butterfly. A 2-ounce butterfly has the exact same thing in common with a 600-pound tiger. But that is Keisha, and this is Tigger. Tigger, you'll notice he looks a little bit different. He is a golden tabby tiger. So with these golden tabby tigers, they are genetic mutations. They're also not supposed to exist out in the wild. So man has created this color as he's getting ready to pounce. Man has created this color specifically for that coloration. They breed these cats together in order to get that golden tabby or strawberry tabby tiger color. Now it's just the golden stripes, light orange top, big old white belly. We have 2 golden tabbies here. There's actually only 30 of them on record in the world today. Now he came from a man in Oklahoma. Him, Floyd, Robbie, and Tommy came from this man in Oklahoma who had these cats, was trying to do right by them and rescuing them from cub petting facilities and pay-to-play programs. But he was overfeeding them, as you'll see with Robbie later. He was causing them to be sick. He freely handed them over to us, and we gave them their home here. Now, with Floyd. Floyd, you're going to see next, the next cat. He is just a regular orange tiger. That is a natural color tiger with these cats. Playing with those boxes, just threw the box off. But that is Floyd. So with this coloration, you'll see those dark black stripes. They help look small to their prey. That way they don't look like a large big cat. But also that dark orange coloration helps them blend in with their surroundings. They can hide behind tall green grass or green bushes because with the food they like to hunt out in the wild, that's deer. Deer are green colorblind. They won't be able to see that green color. Instead, they see an orange color, even like you see on Poncho over here. And so it helps them blend in because an orange bush with an orange tiger hiding behind that orange bush, they're going to blend in really well to hunt the deer. But Montana and Poncho live in this habitat together. They have to switch, though, back and forth. And you would see that maybe on the tour if you came. There are one of the cats that have to alternate. But these 2 are rescued from Colorado. And Since they started fighting, they had to be split up that way, and so today they are split up. But their stripes help us tell them apart from each other. And here's Montana soaking wet. Looks like he just got out of his pool. Those stripes on them are like our fingerprints. And how all of our fingerprints are going to be different than anybody else's. No two stripes are going to be the same on another tiger. So it makes them pretty unique. But here he's eating a meat sickle. So this is where instead of putting blood in the popsicles, we put frozen meat in there. And we gave him that option to play with. But these two, Montana and Poncho, are some of our biggest orange tigers that we have here. They are pretty large, but they will be there on the tour loop. They used to live, you might have seen different habitat kind of looks with them on the video. That was when they lived where Fergie lives now. But with where Fergie lives, it only has one night house. To separate them like we had to, we have to have two night houses. As you can see with Montana here in the pool, Montana and Poncho have a pool they like to share, but all of our tigers have pools. Now, the cats do love to swim, the tigers do at least, and these pools, there's something interesting because these cats get in them in so many different ways, whether it's jumping in immediately, whether it is putting all four paws on the edge of the pool and sinking themselves in that way, or going in back in first. They love to play in those pools and swim around because out naturally, these cats, they will actually drown their prey in the wild. And this is Donner. We have Donner and Roman. These are two going to be white tigers. Now, a lot of people see them and they immediately think that they're either an albino tiger, a Siberian tiger, or a snow or Arctic tiger. But this is all false. A white tiger is made through inbreeding. There's a recessive gene in Bengal tigers that comes out, and I'll pause it here on Roman, that comes out with this inbreeding. So if you think about this, looking at Roman's face and noticing how different his face looks, comparing it to maybe the other white tigers' faces that we've seen today, they're going to have a lot of different issues. They can have cleft palates, pug noses, crooked teeth, crooked spines, shorter legs. But I don't know if you can tell it here on this video. Roman here has really severe crossed eyes. Every single white tiger has crossed eyes. Some might not be as severe as Roman's, but they do have crossed eyes. And if we imagine doing anything with our eyes crossed, let's imagine you're out there tossing a football, just playing a game of catch, and with maybe your kids or just at a tailgating party or anything like that, playing a game of catch, trying to catch a ball with crossed eyes, and then thinking about how difficult that would be. But then think about a cat out in the wild hunting deer. When the deer starts running and that cat with crossed eyes is trying to hunt that deer, and how hard it would be for them to actually catch it. These cats, they don't exist out in the wild for many different reasons. One, inbreeding, and another reason is because they wouldn't be able to survive out in the wild to have those crossed eyes to catch that food that they need to. But Roman, he still moves around pretty well. He does run into a few things here and there, especially when it gets closer to dinner time because he loves his food. This boy is very food motivated. He gets super excited and pounces back and forth between his food dish and his night house door, back and forth, getting super excited like a bunny waiting for that food. So on times when he does this, he sometimes hits the door when he's going full speeds running back and forth. But that's why we have wired that door open. Now Miles's clip is very short, but with Miles, she was rescued from Indiana. Miles is also very flirtatious. She loves to flirt with everything, especially Snowball, who, with Miles, she'll chuff or roll around on the ground, rub up on things, but also she thinks with her back end, that's the best thing in the world. So she'll face it, turn around, face it to whatever she's flirting with, look back, and almost looks like she is smiling and asking for approval to see if she's looking good back there. So She thinks it's the best thing in the whole wide world, the best part of flirting. So she'll do this quite a bit. And she's just super flirtatious. But that was Miles. Looks like she's eating her some chicken there on that part of the video. And then next up we have Snowball, whose Snowball is a big goofball. He's one of Mama's and Bosco's born after Aurora. Now with Snowball, he likes to play. Now we have a nickname for him here, the Destroyer of Toys. He's getting his bubble bath. He loves bubble bath. Well, with these toys that he destroys, he has destroyed a 60-pound ball in less than 2 hours by himself, created a big old hole in the middle of it. We put special toys in there for him to play with, like a hanging thing to where he can scratch on it and play around with it. And there, oh my gosh, he has a mustache and a beard with those bubbles. But he's been able to knock that thing off and wrap his whole body around it and swing off of it like a swing. So we give him extra enrichment, like I was talking about earlier, so he can play a lot more throughout the day. But again, Snowball is such a goof, and he just loves his pool. So if you come out, most of the time he's trying to get in that pool. And this is Nala. Nala, with her, she was rescued from a man in Oklahoma. Not the same man that had Tigger, Floyd, Robbie, and Tommy. It was in a man's backyard. Now, people, he had her as a pet. These cats are not pets. They are predators. These cats, it's not a matter of if they attack, it's a matter of when they attack, especially when people think these cats can be pets. Now, we don't have enough laws to stop people from owning these cats as pets. And if you want to learn more about the Big Cat Public Safety Act, there is some information on our website. Feel free to go to our website anytime. If you go underneath the advocacy page, you can find out that Big Cat Public Safety Act. But we're trying to get this law passed to where it'll federally be illegal to own these cats as pets. So a few states still allow this to be for them to be pets. Luckily, in Arkansas, it is illegal for a big cat to be a pet like this. A man in Harrison, Arkansas had a tiger he did not want anymore. He drove her to the Buffalo National River and dropped her off where there's hikers and campers, and then went back home to Harrison, Arkansas, 60 miles away. He then continued with the rest of his week, and a few days later, he opened his front door and she was sitting on that doorstep waiting to be fed. She had traveled 60 miles through smell to find this man without being detected. We were able to get her rescued. Her name was India, and we got the law changed for here in Arkansas. But if you want to learn more, again, on our website, there's more information. But here we have Chuff, Abigail, and Athena. So you'll see Athena, and then you'll see Chuff. Now, these three are the main reason for our large Branson rescue that we had to go on. This fake zoo in Branson let people go inside Chuff, Abigail, and Athena's cage and take photos with them. They told a 16-year-old volunteer to go inside this cage and take that photo. And he did. He tripped and fell, though. And with him tripping and falling, these cats' natural instinct took over and they attacked him. They grabbed him by the neck, dragged him to the pool, and tried to drag him and drown him in the pool. Well, he came out of it alive, but he was paralyzed afterwards. With this, I consider these three, Chuff, Abigail, and Athena, to be the most aggressive cats that we have here at Turpentine Creek. Now, there's a lot of times that when they're out in their habitat, they're not too aggressive. They do like to play, especially Chuff and his barrel. His barrel is his favorite toy. But when we're up by their night houses, their main territory, they actually scream in our faces. They don't like the humans being right there by that night house. So we give them their space. That way they are comfortable, and that way they can have their space. But again, this just shows you guys, these cats are not those pets. Also, on our website, there's a True Sanctuary checklist. It tells you exactly what a true sanctuary is and gives you questions and check boxes to kind of figure this out. And with this, we let people know they have this option to look up and find out this information to go to a true sanctuary or a true zoo. That way they don't end up in a situation like those cats, like Chuff, Abigail, and Athena, or that 16-year-old volunteer was in. But with this, you can still see that they love to play and they love to run around. But we let people know that that option is still out there for people to go and look at. Now, with the next two, we have Robbie and Tommy. So Tommy is the one with those darker stripes. Well, you'll see Robbie up there in the corner. Now, these two are rescued from that man in Oklahoma with Tigger and Floyd. With Robbie, as you saw him walk by, you might have noticed he looks a bit different. When we rescued him, people believe that we had a polar bear in a habitat with a white tiger because of his size. He weighed over 700 pounds. With him weighing over 700 pounds, it looked like there was a polar bear there. But we put him on a strict diet with lots of exercise, and he lost the weight. Well, with that exercising and diet, he dragged his ball up the hill, dropped it, chased it right back down, and did that quite a bit. And that's that 60-pound ball. He can pick it up with his teeth and his claws, and it would weigh like a feather would weigh. But also with all that weight loss, he has a lot of extra fluff hanging around, especially around his neck and his belly. With that fluff hanging around, it makes it not look like a white tiger in there. It makes it look like a white lion. He just has a lot of extra fluff, and I can go to where maybe you can see that fluff just a little bit better as he's walking around. Let's see. And you can kind of see right there, all around his neck, that's his fake mane. A lot of people confuse him with a white lion because of this fake mane. He'll get it dirty quite often, but it is just Robbie, our white tiger. But with that, that is the end of the video. And so if you guys, I want to show you guys that checklist. With that checklist, it is right here. This is what it's going to look like with those questions on this side and those yes on this side and those yes and no boxes on this side. And on the back of that is that map. And so that tells you the laws and the states that go with those laws are color coordinated based off of the ownership of those cats as pets. Of course, this is not a current map. Several states are trying to get things done to where they're not going to be in the red or that they're going to be in the green and stuff along those lines. But something else I wanted to show you guys before I start answering those questions you guys might have had for me is with this. This is not real, it's a replica. But this is the size of a tiger's tooth. It's about 3.5, 4 inches long. And you can imagine with this, that prey, how easy it is for them to paralyze that prey right upon impact. But also, with the size of a tiger's claw. You can imagine this on a house cat and how bad they already hurt when they scratch. But then think about the cat, 60-pound ball, picking it up like it weighs like a feather. That force, the size of this claw, how easy they can grab a hold of that prey and keep a hold of it. But with this, if you guys do have any of those questions, I am ready to be able to answer those questions for you guys.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Shaylin. That was great.
No problem.
We do have some questions, and if anyone still has any and you're watching live, please get those in while you still can. We have a comment from Diana who says, beautiful animals. Absolutely agree. And he asked, are these fake or bad facilities charged or shut down for these violations?
Okay, so some can be and some are not always. There are several fake facilities like zoos and sanctuaries, these fake ones that claim that they're going to be good ones, that they're not going to be shut down because they are just under that gray area to where they are still allowing cub petting and pay-to-play programs. But at the same time, the USDA is still allowing them to do certain things because they can still get a USDA license. It's just they don't have that GFAS accreditation. Now, a lot of other facilities, yes, they have been shut down. You might have heard several facilities being shut down that have happened recently, and this is where the government takes over that facility and shuts it down because they are mistreating those animals and they're not giving them proper care that they need. Good question.
Do you think the last year's Tiger King documentary played a big role in the push to get some of these facilities shut down?
Absolutely. So a lot of these facilities that you might have seen on that show, several of them have already been shut down since the coming of that show out. And so it has progressed to where I think people are starting to understand a lot more of what these other facilities are and why they might not be the best facilities, because they've seen exactly on that show what has happened.
Right. So what would you say is the most rewarding part and the most challenging part of working with these animals?
Being able to see the progress. So there are so many cats that when they come to us, they're scared. They'll be hissing and growling. They never come out into their habitats. Well, we see that progress to where they are now running around their habitats, playing with those toys. We can see them getting excited and happy. And so being able to see those cats' first steps into grass that they would never had before, you can just see their eyes light up. And so that really makes this job worthwhile, make sure that they have that good home, that they're able to play to where they might not have been able to do that beforehand.
Yeah. What would you say is the most challenging part?
Challenging is, I would believe, with some of the cats that we have here, no matter what, they are still going to be very aggressive. Of course, we are a no contact facility. We're never doing anything hands on with these cats. But when a cat does scream at us and does start having aggression towards certain things, we want to give them their best life. Now, we don't want them to still be mad. So it's the fact of us trying to give them that best life while still trying to keep our distance from them.
Some of the ones that were probably former pets we're used to handling and petting, and do they demand that attention? Is that hard to say no?
It is sometimes hard to say no, because you just see the animal and yes, they look fluffy and they look all like a teddy bear or something like that. But we all know that our hands might not exist afterwards if we were to do that. But sometimes you can see where an animal, if it has been a pet before, that they're rolling around and they're looking at you and they don't really understand, but in the first place, they shouldn't have been that pet.
Do you handle smaller cats like the serval or bobcats, or just totally
no contact? Because bobcats, they might be small, but they are super aggressive. They can take down a deer. The small size that they can take a deer down. And when we feed them, they're jumping up on the fence, grabbing the food from the tongs that we're feeding them through. And so they're pretty aggressive, along with the servals who hiss at us every time we walk by them. So yeah, we're complete hands off, no contact.
Question from Jennifer: how do you open the door of the cages without getting bit?
It's a good question. So we always have to keep watch on these animals. We have a little gate with holes in it to where we put a rebar in it. And with this rebar, we can then slide it out while watching our hands and watching where their head is going to be and their nose. And we'll grab that, we'll be able to slide it out that way, and then we open the door that way. So we can open the door back and forth, but we're always keeping watch on these animals to where we see where their nose is, their face is going to be at all times. If it's right up by that fence, our hands go nowhere near that fence. We have to wait until they move around to be able to do anything with the doors.
You mentioned some of the cats having relationships, some get along and some don't like each other. I imagine that applies to some of the humans that take care of them too.
Yes, there are certain cats that can't stand some of the keepers. And of course, we all want to show them that love, but they see a certain face and they kind of put that face with either an owner that might have looked that way, or a smell, or even if it was when we rescued them, a very hard event for them being moved that way. They see that, it's just a reaction that way. So yes, there are several cats that really don't like certain people. So we tend to keep our distance from them. That way they're comfortable as well with that.
How intelligent and emotional would you say these animals are?
Super. So these cats have excellent memories. to where there's a certain thing that just goes off on these animals to where they'll recognize someone that they haven't heard or seen in years. So I'll give you guys one of the examples that kind of really struck us really hard, gave us goosebumps when we heard this story. Miles, who you saw in the video, when she was rescued from Indiana, we brought her back here. This happened last September. Now, the lady at this Indiana facility, there was a lady that was volunteering there, and she knew that the only way to get this cat any food that know that it was going to be taken care of was her volunteering and driving up there every single day. So she did. And so she was really just trying to take care of these cats. She knew what was happening at that facility was not good, but she was just wanting to make sure that they had the love that they needed and food, because she knows they might not have gotten that. Now, she actually came here to Turpentine Creek a few months ago. And when she came here, she saw Miles, and she said Miles's name. And Miles perked her ears up and started sprinting towards the fence line. Miles recognized just the voice from her. They're very intelligent. They know how to solve different problems, and some of the most intelligent animals, I believe, are out there. Especially, we have a hyena. The hyena down at Rescue Ridge that we have, super intelligent. One of the most intelligent animals out there. They, in certain tests, have out-tested chimpanzees. And so they actually can count. With these hyenas out in the wild, if they're trying to join a pack, well, those hyenas, the males, will count how many males there are compared to females and see if it's worth going into that pack and trying to join that pack. Mm-hmm. So they're really smart with that.
Yeah, hyenas are very weird animals. That we could do a whole video just on that.
Oh, yeah, they are.
Yeah. Another question from Jennifer: was Mama Shakira able to raise the cubs she had the day she was rescued, or were they separated?
So we kept them with her, and we kept her as long as she wanted them to stay there with her. So with her having already 3 litters before them being ripped from her, it was hard on her to understand exactly what she needed to do to raise Tanya and Kismet. And so she actually just kind of abandoned them. So we did give them their own habitat, and that's why they're up in the discovery area instead of with Mama. But we would normally let them stay there. It's just with Mama not knowing how to properly take care of them since they were ripped from her beforehand. Her other litters, she didn't know how to take care of Tanya and Kismet, so she thought it was just a natural thing that was happening. So, yeah.
You probably mentioned this at the beginning. How many cats did you say you have total?
We have 100 animals total. And with this, that includes 9 bears. We have that Coatamundi, and we have Rambo, who's a hyena, but all the rest are those cats.
Do you have space for future rescues and expansions?
Currently, expansions, yes. Right now for habitats, I mean, yes and no. Right now, I would say we are basically as full as that we can be unless we start switching more and more back and forth. So there are a few that can be put into another night house to where we switch them back and forth every other day, but that's only like a few, not many. But we have a total of 460 acres out here.
Wow.
And so with those 460 acres, we have quite a bit of room to expand. And so we're actually in the planning process of being able to expand even more. We have an open field area, just like Rescue Ridge, a flat ground habitat area to where we can build more onto that, to where we can give these animals more habitats as well.
Excellent. If there was a species you didn't already have that needed rescuing, like a jaguar or a cheetah, would you have the means to take care of them?
Yes, and we do have a jaguar. We have a black jaguar here. So he actually switches back and forth with Selbit, who's a regular colored leopard. But so we do have the means for the jaguars. Cheetahs are a little bit different because cheetahs require space to run.
Right.
Now we have a long habitat space, and that's where our cougars are staying at the moment, because cougars, they like to jump, and they will jump horizontally instead of vertically mostly. So we have them that room that they can run them back and forth and jump. So if need to, we can build a habitat just like the cougars if we were having to rescue a cheetah. That way it can be the specific habitat for the cheetah. All of our habitats are built specifically for a certain animal, whether it's the enclosed habitat to where there's a roof on top because if a animal will jump or climb or anything like that, there's a roof. Like those leopards, jaguars, servals, cougars, and bobcats that we have, they all have roofs. Now, for the bears, our fencing goes way down deep into the ground, and there's a concrete barrier underneath the ground, as well as there is going to be some wiring around it where they can't climb or dig their way out. So all those habitats are made just for those animals.
Perfect. Diana asked, do any of the cats ever get released back into the wild?
We really wish we could, but because where we rescue them from, because they're coming from homes and apartments, they're coming from people's backyards, they're coming from fake zoos, fake sanctuaries, and exotic pet trade. They've never learned how to fend for themselves and be a wild animal. And so because they're never learning how to hunt and fend for themselves and all of that kind of stuff, we're not able to introduce them back out into the wild, because if we were to do so, they probably wouldn't be able to make it because they don't know how to hunt for themselves.
Is there an estimate of how many big cats are still across America in poor conditions that need rescuing?
There is roughly, now this is a rough number, 10,000 big cats, tigers alone actually, tigers in the United States. 2,000 of those 10,000 are in true zoos and true sanctuaries. So the other 8,000 are in fake zoos, fake sanctuaries, and people's homes. And in the wild, there's way less than that. There's less than 4,000 tigers out in the wild. There's less than 3,000 out in the wild, actually. And so with this, there's a lot more big cats out there in the United States, because that is just the tiger number. Now, if you imagine tigers plus lions, servals, and all of that, you can imagine how much are you alone in the United States today.
Just want to give a last call to anyone watching. If you still have any questions, just have a few left on this end. So if you have any final questions or comments, get those in right now. So do you guys have any kind of working relationship with the Little Rock Zoo or any other accredited zoos?
Yes. So we work with accredited zoos and accredited sanctuaries all the time. So we discuss with zoos quite a bit because we try to do on the BCSA, the Big Cat Sanctuary Alliance. We talk back and forth and talking about what we can do with these cats and how to get more acts passed with these other zoos and other sanctuaries, but with these other sanctuaries as well. We work with them every time we go on a rescue, and when we can't bring all of the animals back here to Turpentine, we do work with them. So we transport them to other sanctuaries as well as they come and grab them from those other places that we're rescuing them from. But with accredited zoos, we're not really transporting these animals that we have to accredited zoos, because most of the time these accredited zoos, they have the full species. So the full species, the full bred, like the Bengal, Siberian tigers, you're not going to really find a white tiger or a hybrid there, because they're based off the conservation of education. So we are taking those hybrids because they're technically not supposed to be alive in a way, since they are created by man, while they have the true species to where they can go on and help with that education to help people understand more about the true species. All of our animals, we never really fully say they're a true 100% Bengal tiger, because with the ones that are coming to us, they could be mixed with Siberian tigers. It's through all that breeding that's done that we really don't know what they are. So, but we do a lot of work with those other accredited facilities.
If the wild populations were a lot higher, healthy level, do you think these hybrids and mutations would occur in the wild?
No. So with the cats, they live in different parts of the world. We have African lions that live in Africa, but the tigers actually live up in Asia. Now, there is a small population of Asian lions, but there is so small of a population that they're so far away from the actual tigers. It's just right on the outskirts of that Asia and Africa connection that they'll still never really breed together. There's no use for the cats to breed. Most of the time when you get the hybrids out in the wild of any animal, it's because their species relied on it to help them survive, to keep the gene pool going. While with them, yes, tigers are slowly declining out in the wild, but at the same time, they're so far up in Asia where Africans are so far into Africa that those lions and tigers won't be able to reproduce to create the hybrids.
how do the cats react to the big weather events like the summer heat or that huge snowpocalypse we had back in February?
So the summer heat, it's a lot of what we like to call cat lumps. So where the cats are finding shade, going into their night houses, or the tigers are in their pools. So really, the tigers don't really like the heat. The lions, they might be out in the sun, soaking up that sun, but sometimes they're also in the shade or hiding out where it's hard to see. So we do get a lot of people who come here in the summer, but we recommend a lot of times people coming when it's cooler outside. The best time to see these animals is around 60 degrees because that's when they're most active. 60, 50, but the tigers in the winter, like the snow apocalypse that we had, they loved it. They were all playing out in the snow, chasing the snowflakes, pouncing around and just sliding down the hills. They love snow. While the lions, they were more cooped up in their dens, hiding away. The lions aren't the biggest fan of that cold, but the tigers loved it.
What about thunderstorms? Do they get scared or like the rain?
Some of the cats get scared when it thunders and lightnings because some of them don't like that noise overhead, while others, they really don't mind it. When it is severe, we will lock them up into their night house that where they're safe. There is a concrete den. It's basically an old sewage tank that has been donated to us. Of course, it's cleaned out, but it's donated to us, and that's going to be a safety area for them. They can go in there and they'll be safe. But they also really like the rain. We get cats that go out and play in the rain all the time. When it just after it rains or when it is sprinkling a little bit, they love to be out pouncing around in the puddles. We have our Bam Bam who was out one time when it was raining, and he decided to just run around in the rain and just enjoy the rain hitting him. So it just depends on a certain cat, but a lot of times they're a little bit more active when it is raining.
So other than, of course, the massive size difference, what are some of the similarities and differences, just fun facts about between, lions and tigers and house cats?
All right. So some interesting similarities. House cats, you give them a toy, and they don't want to play with the toy. They want to play with their box that the toy came in. Cats, these big cats, same way. We give them cardboard boxes. They try to fit their whole bodies in these boxes, and they flatten it out, completely flat. Also, they have sometimes the same mannerisms. So you know how stubborn a house cat is. Well, with a house cat, it doesn't want to do something, it's not going to do it. Same with these big cats. They don't want to do something, they're not going to do it. And sometimes they do it just out of spite. I've had one of our white tigers, I think it was Tanya, who she had a toy up at the very top, and I was watching her play. She went up to it, she looked at me, she just threw it off of the platform, like she just smacked it off like you would see house cats smacking things off of the shelves. And then she just laid down and just looked at me and was like, what are you going to do about it? So they kind of have those same similarities with that. But differences, I would say, is more of just the power behind the cats. So how more aggressive they can be and how they can do a little bit more damage compared to what a house cat can. And of course, a house cat, if it wanted to, it probably can shred up a whole house, no problem. But a tiger probably could take the house down completely. So there are more similarities and there are differences, big differences, the aggression, the size, and the strength of these cats and how wild they are.
And lions and tigers can't purr, right?
Say that again?
They can't purr.
Correct. They cannot. Yeah, so that big cat species, they're not able to purr. So anytime you'll hear the Panthera species, they're not able to do that purring. It's more of the growling or the screaming, or even with the tigers, it's chuffing. So a chuff is just a lot of air going through that nasal passage. But it's kind of how they say hello to each other. But yeah, no purring.
All right. Any other final fun facts or trivia points you'd like to share?
And if you guys do think of any other questions, and you, of course, because this is a little while afterwards, if you find like a couple of hours and like, oh, I have a question, feel free to email us. We have an email, education@turpentinecreek.org, education@tcwr.org. You can email us with that email. You can also find that email on our website to where you can email us different questions that you guys might have. If you go to that education email, it might be myself personally answering that email, or it could be either Jessica or Miss Becky, who's also part of the education team, answering those emails for you.
And what can people do to help support you guys or the rescue and conservation of big cats in general?
So you guys just even coming out in general, just coming out and visiting us, that helps us out so much. All of our money that we get is off of donations, is off of the tours and lodging. It's all going to those cats. So even just by being here on one tour, that ticket admission goes straight to the animal that you're seeing at the tour that you are going on. But also with different donations, we accept any money donations. We have tons of different fundraisers that happen. You guys want to donate that way, but also we have to where you can donate enrichment items. So there's a list on our website. You can find where there's different enrichment items. There's like perfumes and kitchen spices. You can donate certain toys or even just cardboard boxes or toilet paper tubes or even paper towel tubes. They love to destroy those things. And so there's a list on the website that you guys can go and look at and see those different little enrichment items that you can kind of donate to us as well. So that would really help us out. Even if you're just spreading the word about us, letting people know what Turpentine Creek is about and all that information, for sure, that helps out a lot just by itself.
Had a big cat of my own who wanted to make a cameo. What Jennifer says, such a great informative presentation. Love the video. I agree. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you guys joining us today and being able to watch that video.
Are there any final remarks you'd like to make before we say goodbye?
Other than, if you guys do come out, we are super excited to see you guys out here at Turpentine Creek. We're open almost every single day of the year except for Christmas. We close early on Thanksgivings and open late on New Year's Day. But again, almost every single day of the year, come out and join us here where we'll give you a tour of some of the cats that you might have seen today and seen other cats that you might not have seen today. But also with this, I want you guys to, if you take anything away from this presentation, anything at all, I want you guys to remember that these cats, they're predators. They're not those pets. And so that is the main thing I want you guys to really take away from this presentation if you take away anything. But other than that, that is basically all I have. If you guys come out for a tour and it's still hot outside, the 9 and 10 o'clock tours are the best. The 3 and 4 o'clock tours are also okay, but those afternoon tours, these cats are taking their naps. They sleep anywhere from 18 to 21 hours a day. They're nappers at that time. So with that, those morning and very last tours of the day are the best tours. When it's cooler outside, they'll be active most of the day, but definitely in the mornings is the best tour. But other than that, that's really all I got to say.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And thank you everyone for watching and have a good night.
Thank you guys. Bye.